What to look for when visiting a bike store for the first time really varies on where you are in your buying process and also what you're looking for. Um, Firstly, I would say if you're early on in your bike buying process and you haven't bought a bike for a long time, first thing I would look for in a bike store is a good selection. And when I say good selection, I mean two things. One, a good selection of prices. You want to see prices going down, as low as you can really, so you can get an idea of quality. But I would say as maybe low as $200 up to as high as $5,000. And this is just going to at least give you kind of a basis of what's the range of bikes out there, prices, what do they look like, feel like, what kind of quality do you get across these different prices. And secondly, when I say selection in a bike store, I'm referring to the types of bikes. So you want to see as many different types of bikes as possible, from cruiser to hybrid to road to mountain. That's going to allow you to test ride all sorts of different categories and really get a feel for the category that is right for you. Secondly, I think to look for in a bike store to really speak to the credibility of them is the mechanics area. You want to see a really clean and well-kept mechanics area. I would say you probably want to see at least two stands. That's going to tell you they at least have two mechanics on staff there. The reason I say this is because if you ever need repairs on your bikes, number one, you want to know that your bike's getting repaired in a good, clean, quality mechanical area. If it was dirty or not well kept, you could assume that they don't take their repairs very seriously. And you probably don't want to ride a bike or have a bike fixed from a company that doesn't care too much about the repairs. Um, Secondly, waiting time, right? If they have two mechanic stands, at least you can assume that when your bike comes in for a repair, it's not going to sit there for a week or 2 weeks. You want to be able to get your bike fixed and back on the road as soon as possible. Um, so to add to that, I would say if you're farther into your search and you kind of already know, I want this type of bike and I want a mountain bike. I would say when you walk into the store, look for things that let you believe that this is an authority in that section. So if you walk in and you want a mountain bike and you see cruiser bikes pictured all over the wall, I would say you're probably not in the right store. Um, there's a lot of bike shops out there that deal in very specific niches. There's some that deal in general assortment of bikes. And it's all kind of suited to whatever you want. If you just want a general use bike, I would say find the store that has a general use selection. If you want a mountain bike, go to the mountain bike store. Um, Lastly, I would say when you walk in, just look for cleanliness and general organization. You want to go to a bike store that cares about how their bikes look and how the appearance of the store looks. And there's actually one thing to think about there is really look at the cleanliness of the bikes. If you see bikes that have dust on them or maybe look like they've been sitting on the floor a long time, that's probably a bad sign. You want to see a shop that keeps their bikes well kept. They're wiping them down. If they've been sitting there for a year, they kind of re-grease things and just make sure the general maintenance of the bikes are good. You can really tell if you get up close and wipe your finger maybe on the frame. If any dust comes onto it, you could assume that that bike's probably been sitting there for a long time. However, it could be an opportunity to make a deal on that bike because maybe the store wants to get rid of it. But yeah, generally speaking, just look for the general overall cleanliness of the store. People often wonder what's the difference between buying a bike, let's say at a bike store, or buying a bike at a mass market store, say a Dick's Sporting Goods or a Walmart, or a Target, so to speak. I think the number one difference between a bike store and one of those stores is going to be service. When you walk into, let's say as a Walmart as an example, it's very hard to get the kind of attention you're going to get when you walk into a bike store. At a bike store, they're there specifically to serve the need of helping someone find a bike. At Walmart, there might be a general associate walking down an aisle that can maybe tell you something about it. But if you have very specific questions around fitting and is this bike right for me, a bike shop's going to be the place that you want to go. And so really service is a bigger distinguisher. I think on top of service is training and expertise. In a bike shop, you're going to get a lot of expertise, In a mass market store, people aren't going to be trained to the expert level that they would be in a bike store. Now, that's a little bit different from, say, a Dick's Sporting Goods, because they do have a dedicated bike maintenance area, and there is a trained person in that department. However, in a bike store, you're still going to have multiple people. You're going to have a salesperson. A lot of times you're going to have someone who's a fitting expert. You're going to have a mechanical expert. So you're going to have multiple level of experts in a bike store versus a mass market. Now, in the day and the age of the internet, a lot of us don't even need to rely on those experts, because essentially Google can be our expert. So you can look up anything, you can find any information you want online and become your own expert. So if you feel like you can arm yourself with enough information online, so when you walk into a Dick's Sporting Goods, you know exactly what you want, or you walk into a Walmart, well, you don't need to rely on the in-store personnel for your expert advice. You can already find it online. And that's a big reason why people have started buying products online. Because you can find everything that you need to know online, and we can all become experts in chiropractic on YouTube or something, right? And so the same is true of bikes. You can watch 100 hours of YouTube and possibly know more than the associate in the bike store, or for sure, know more than the associate in Walmart. I would say the other thing you're going to find big difference between bike store and mass market is price range. Generally, in the mass market, bigger box stores, the Dick's and the Walmarts, prices are going to, go no higher than, say, $500 or $600, and they're going to go as low as, say, $99. And as a result of price is quality. When you go into a bike store, you're not going to see prices really go below $200. And I would say on average, the average bike sold in a bike store is about $700. The average bike sold in a mass market is somewhere in the neighborhood of, I want to say $200. And those prices skew even less when you talk about kids' bikes. The average kids' bike price in the mass market is somewhere in the $50 to $60 range. So price and quality are a big distinguisher. Bike stores focus really on the higher end, higher quality products. The mass market focuses more on the lower price, lower quality, or medium quality, or to some degree also the value. I think that's true of online, although online now you're seeing all prices pop up into online stores. Lastly, I would say selection. When you go into a bike store, you're going to see a much, much bigger selection of bikes. You're going to see varying prices, varying speeds, varying bike types. When you go into the big box store, there's just less space. It's less dedication to that specific category. So you're going to see far less selection in any specific category, or less categories even available. You may not see mountain bikes in Walmart in one Walmart store, but you might see that into every single bike store. So, it really depends on what your needs are and what kind of time you want to invest. I would say neither is better or worse than the other. It really depends on the consumer and what kind of experience you're looking for. How you can really make sure you're getting the best deals possible when buying at a bike store is do your research. I think that's something that has been ingrained in our culture nowadays, especially with online and Google and the ability to find information at our fingertips. I would say make sure you at least spend 1, 2, 3 hours getting to know the market. What are the prices available? What kind of bikes are available? What's a good price for a certain bike? Or what's a low price, a medium price, a high price? That way, when you walk into a bike store, you're already kind of armed with basic industry knowledge, and you can't be taken advantage of. If a bike store tries to sell you a bike for $800 that you researched online and you saw it was $500, you'll know right there, I need to walk out and find somewhere else to buy this bike. The other tip and trick to get a good deal on a bike at a bike store is time you're buying. It's no different than buying Christmas stuff the day after Christmas, or buying a swimming pool after the summer is over. It's the same with bikes. The season for bikes is the summer. Most people start looking to buy a bike in April, May, and they want to be out riding in June and July and August. And bike companies typically close out their bikes August, September, and October, and they're coming out with the new bikes end of the year, beginning of the following year. If you walk into a bike shop September, October, you're going to find lots of closeout bikes from that model year that you could get a great deal on. So if you don't really care about when you buy the bike and you just want to get the best deal, I'd go to a bike store anytime September, October, November and see what kind of offers they have. And you can usually walk away with a great price on a closeout model.